What is up, my friends? Welcome back to the Crypto Junkie channel, where we talk about all things crypto. And today, what I want to do is we're going to do a bit of story time, and we're going to talk about some truths, some hard truths about really big and huge crypto projects. So these are things that most retail investors are not thinking about, and I'm going to tell you a story about a bigger crypto project that I was involved with. I'm not going to name it. That turned out to be a disaster, which just actually prevented me from, I guess you could say, seeing an opportunity, a simple opportunity like Hex and simple opportunities that I've gotten into since then because of what happened with this event and just the way that it all kind of hit me back to back to back. So if you'd like this topic point of really diving deeper into crypto and diving into, core things that we need to be looking at instead of this surface level, we're all going to get rich, we're all going to make it bullshit, then this is the channel for you, right? That's kind of the whole idea. The whole plan was coming back was to focus more on education, focus on these deeper stories. We're going to get into the history of Bitcoin and really just like fascinating pieces of history like this. And this is actually a piece of history in its own right. Coming off the situation that happened with BitConnect, and after that disaster fell, that was like a top signal that Bitcoin was done with its bull market and it was going to go into a bear. And after it went into a bear, and the losses just kept getting bigger and bigger, because at that point in 2017 I was new into crypto. I was pretty like raw coming out of that, meaning that that it wasn't just BitConnect, it was USI Tech, it was BitClub, it was like a dozen things that myself or the community was involved in. And I really took that to heart, because there was over 6,000 people in that community at the time. We had 20,000 subscribers on a YouTube channel. Like, I felt guilty as fuck, in short, because I was some sort of front-faced person that was involved in any of this fuckery at all. Was a huge blow to self-esteem and to a bunch of other stuff, I'm sure. After that, I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting back to my own roots and wanted to get involved in something more core, more centralized to the crypto ecosystem. So met somebody that they were involved in some earlier projects that came before Bitcoin even started, which there was like some MLM stuff that had popped up in the cryptography space, and talking about these kind of like decentralized, they weren't using that word, but cryptography based payment scheme systems, right? Naturally, MLM people are going to get all over that, right? And so yeah, they had that kind of history. And then their kid was really smart, and he was leading up this project that they were working on, and they were really interested in the knowledge that I had about affiliate marketing and really digital marketing, because that's how I'd made all of my money before crypto. They had a lot of stories about early crypto, like when Bitcoin was first starting. They met some of the people that were in and around development, around Hal Finlay and others like that. They had a lot of really great stories too, because they were in crypto so early on. They had stories from Hal, Finney, and others like that were involved in Bitcoin in the very beginning. And I thought that was really cool. And I was like, okay, if I'm gonna stick around in this Bitcoin stuff, I want it to be something like this. Anyways, I got involved, and as time went on, I got more and more involved in their project, which I'm not gonna name their project because I think it's still around. And I don't want to give them any publicity at all, because I think the family is pretty trash. And yeah, I don't really want to give them credit. I get involved in this project, and quickly I find out that there's family scuffles. And at this point, there's maybe 30 people involved in this project. So now what I want you to be thinking about this whole time is like, holy cow, there's some projects out there with 50, 100, 200, 300 people. And this is what happens. This is what goes wrong in businesses, organizations, is all these ideas and belief systems and little scammers trying to scheme and power grabs. All this dog shit is occurring all the time in big corporations, which is why I think a lot of people have had enough of that, right? And that's why there's so much attention around pushing for a new narrative, a new contract system, right, of social contracts, etc., for some sort of work thing, right, to make money. I get involved, and yeah, very quickly I find out, the family member was kicked out, like kind of forced out of the project, and they were involved in more aligned, I guess you could say, like spiritually and stuff like that, and they had attracted some really great people. So again, like all of these were stacking positive benefits as to like why I wanted to get involved, is because I just saw the power of this group and like the inner group. But then it very quickly got pretty thinned out, and there was all kinds of bad actors that came in, wanting to get rich quick, wanting power grabs, just wanting to talk, fulfill my ego, give me attention. Who knows what the kind of mommy daddy issues they were all dealing with. But it just started getting really annoying, because there was just so many games. And then all of a sudden I find myself in the middle of some big drama, and because I came at it like a straight shooter, I was constantly finding myself in these scenarios where it's like people were confining in me in one aspect, and then they were like trying to play like this different game. Like, so they were confiding in me, and then they'd come out and we'd have like a group meeting or something, and then there's all these other layers of games, and I'm just like, well, wait a second, we were just talking about this in private. but now we're saying something completely different in public. So masks, layers, right? And all that. And so anyways, I just ended up pretty much burning the whole thing down, laying out the truth as best as I could to people that I thought would do something about it. They didn't. And then yeah, it just got really weird at the end, and I pretty much just quit. I quit with just a peep. I was gonna go out with a big bang and, you know, fuck everybody kind of thing. And so, because that was just my ego. So ended up quitting, walking away from it, and I think it's still going on today, but it's just yeah, it was a fucking disaster. And because nothing was ever being discussed, and there wasn't like this, the core ethos had been lost. If I'm being frank, I don't think I personally know how to manage hundreds of people into an ecosystem, but companies like Coinbase, you know, Coinbase was the second startup funded in crypto. And everyone talks shit about Coinbase and, oh, they're so awful and they're so this and they're so that. Yeah, they've had their issues and they've had their troubles, but first, they're still around, and they started getting funding in 2013. So, I mean, what is that, 8 years? They're still around 8 years later. I'm pretty sure they're not a scam. You know, yeah, they want to make their money and stuff, but, you know, they're mission-oriented. And if you look at some of the stuff I've been covering with Brian Armstrong, he's a mission-oriented dude. They basically rejected the whole woke political bullshit thing that was starting to creep up in their organization. 5% of people, aka 60 people, quit. And here we are a year later, and they're fine. And they've been attracting greater and greater talent ever since then. Because if they would have gone down that path of losing track with their core ethos, they would have ended up just like Apple and Amazon, where, you know, you could offer them $15 an hour and free college education, which is what Amazon's doing, and nobody's happy. There's still lawsuits, and they still fucking hate you. There's no satisfying that mob, that wokeness, that crap that's just like, you owe me everything, right? So anyways, this company, this startup, lost that very early on, and it's right after, you know, they had just secured a big amount of funding. You know, they just did their first event out in Malta, and, you know, things were looking good, things were looking up, and it's just crazy how quick that whole thing fell apart. And I'm pretty sure most of the people that were in that kind of core group when I was are gone from the project, and who knows, the project looks dead the last time I checked, which is maybe like 6 months, 8 months ago. But the point of all this is that from the outside in, most retail is just thinking like, they're thinking, oh, the team and the size of it helps make it more legitimate. That speaks to the legitimacy of it. The more amount of funding you get supposedly speaks to some kind of legitimacy. When we look at a Theranos situation, we look at an Enron situation, and those are both prime examples of money didn't fix that problem, you know, money didn't make that better. And that's kind of what happened in this project, actually, now that I think about it. It's pretty much like a Theranos, like a fake guru that was like, oh my God, this genius, and they're so smart, ended up backfiring, and the whole thing was just kind of like a facade, right? Those things do not matter in crypto. And the bigger the team is without a core mission, that's why like on their website and stuff, you should go and look at these projects that are bigger and these DAOs and stuff, and like, what is their ethos? What do they stand for? Who are they as individuals? Because the people on the DAO, the people that are primary shareholders in these cryptocurrencies that get to vote and make things real, it's probably best to figure out, and you'll figure this out through how they vote. You're not gonna be able to go and get close to these people because a lot of them are gonna remain anonymous, but how they're voting tells you who they are as a person, for the most part. And you're gonna be able to piece together identities and, you know, belief systems and structures based off that, and then you have to decide, which that's a ton of research, by the way, holy shit, then you'd have to decide if you wanted to get involved in that. Whereas most people are not doing things like that. They're not looking at this aspect and this side of what can go wrong with these projects. And I would argue that, and this was a couple years ago, you know, this was 2018, 2019. I would argue it's even worse now with the whole political drivel shit going on, and all the genders and all the, you know, how you want to be identified and all this shit, dude. It's got to be insane right now to run a team and have everyone get along. And it's because people don't actually have that mission that's what it turns into. It's like, oh, let's just try and get along with everybody to make this thing work. No, if we've got this mission and that's our end goal, then it really doesn't matter how we are different in all these other aspects of our life and our belief systems and blah, blah, blah. Like, most of our belief systems will have to align, actually, if we're mission oriented. And that's what's funny about it, is that's how you can weed people out and filter through crap and bad eggs and people that are there for the wrong reasons, is if you have a strong core ethos, if you have a strong mission statement, if you know what you're going for, what you're trying to build, etc. It's pretty easy to filter out the wrong people, which these are things that Kinetics and I have talked about on stream. You know, that's one of the things I really, really like about the Hex community, is not only is it an amazing open community that doesn't try and make you feel like an idiot or tell you that you're dumb for liking anything but their coin, etc., fill in the blank, is that also too, it's it's tended to attract a very high caliber of person that's very aware of what's going on right now in the world, economically, politically, etc. And I think that, you know, that makes it easier for a lot of them to align, because while they might have, you know, micro disagreements, the macro overall, they're going towards the same thing. Like we're on the same mission. And I think that is what matters the most, because I've experienced now the opposite of that. And I've experienced one that kind of lost track of that. And I can tell you what goes wrong with that. So again, that was another reason why I was so excited when I actually did pay attention to this. Even though I went through my own shit along the way to come to that conclusion. But there are other projects like that. And I know I talk about Hex quite a bit on this channel. I don't want this channel to turn into a Hex fan fest. That's not my intention. It's just one of the better projects that I like, that across the board fills a lot of gaps. And you got to understand that, you know, a lot of these buckets that I'm looking to fill are not just like vanity metrics at all. They go much, much deeper than that. And so I like what they've created, and obviously I'm going to have a natural affinity to that, because Kinetics was one of the very first people in our community. Him and I have stuck together now over 4 years through thick and thin and all kinds of other shit in the middle. And so it's really exciting to see what they're doing. And the Pulse launch that's coming up, I think is going to really open the gates for a lot of people that maybe didn't want to get involved with a Richard Hart project before, is going to be able to now, because there's so many different options that it's going to enable. And I think that this really is something truly special that they're going for with this upcoming launch, to be able to duplicate over all these chains and basically take and duplicate over your wallet onto an entirely new chain is pretty incredible. It's never been done before. And, you know, there's obviously going to be a ton of things that they're up against with this, but I trust that they'll do a good job, you know, and I trust that their heart and their heart's in the right place, and the mission is coming from the proper place too. So anyways, these stories like this are so important to you, because you as a retail investor, you as somebody, whether you're brand new to crypto or you've been around since 2017, we've all got holes and gaps and things that we don't want to look at it because of our own personal stuff or not. And stories like this really help fill those gaps and help you make better decisions with your money to hopefully make it in crypto. You know, I want everyone to make it in crypto and get what they want out of it, and you know, and then be able to go and get what their heart's desires. So anyways, that's it for this video. More videos coming soon. I've got some really fascinating stuff. We're going to dive into some of the history of Bitcoin and some of the things I've been able to dig up to help kind of feed those frames and those narratives, which I don't think there's enough people talking about the kind of earlier days now that it's gotten so big. Me personally, I think those things are important. So like the video, comment below if you got something to say. If you want to help us with the algorithms, you just do that stuff too. And then also too, if you like this channel and you're brand new here, most of our viewers are not subscribed. Crazy, I know. So just take a second, click the red button and the bell notification, turn it to all. Be on the lookout, more videos coming soon. See ya.